Welcome back to another Ask GCN Anything. This week we're talking about why do cyclists shave their legs and not their arms, how to lose weight while cycling, and also how to build your endurance.
Yeah, don't forget, if you'd like to get involved on next week's show, then as always, use the hashtag talkback. And if you want the chance of winning 3 months of free subscription from Zwift, then to use the hashtag Ask GCN Training. Right, mate.
Get your laptop out. Let's get the questions going.
Do it. So the first question comes in from Doug Mason. Looking to replace my handlebar tape. I've reviewed your instructional video and get the concept. My question is, adhesive or non-adhesive tape? What are your thoughts on the two options? Right, first off, I'd go for adhesive. It's got a sticky back tape, so you can really get some tension in it. It sticks better. And yeah, then you don't take it off and yeah, it stays in place.
Whereas I prefer the non-adhesive because you could take it off, clean it up properly. I'm not so sure. Clean it up properly and then rewrap it. And also, generally speaking, it was stretchier, the non-adhesive stuff, because you didn't have like a layer of stickiness that didn't stretch that well.
So,
personal
non-adhesive, adhesive, make your own mind up, but have a go and try both.
Yeah, probably best to make your bar tape choice based on the actual stickiness of the bar tape and not what's underneath it.
Yeah, true. Go on, Chris, tell us who the lucky winner of this week's 3 months free subscription from Zwift is.
This week's lucky winner is Todd of Ranas with, how does one go about establishing their actual max heart rate? I'm never able to get into zone 5, even including hard finishing sprints.
Good question. There is a calculation you can make, which is
220 minus your age. So 220 minus your age, mine's 31, so it would be 189. But I know for a fact that that doesn't actually work for me.
Yeah, so to get your actual max heart rate, you can actually do a test, or you can do an exercise or a workout, and we've put one on Zwift that you can try out, and it's basically a go till you blow. Or
yeah, exactly. So set your threshold, your power, no matter what your actual power is, to 100 watts in Zwift. Every 2.5 minutes you increase your intensity by, I think it's 25 watts. And you maintain that until you explode. Basically, you can no longer continue. Make sure you do this when you're really, really fresh.
That's super important because the fresher you are, then you can actually get to your max. If you're fatigued, then you won't really reach your potential.
Yeah, you also mentioned in your comment that you're finding it hard to get into zone 5, so that kind of implies that your heart rate zones currently are not calculated correctly, because it should actually be relatively easy to get your heart rate up there.
100%. So give that session a go, and please do let us know how you get on in the comment section below.
Next up is a question from Marco Pilech. I started using a fan to keep cool during indoor cycling, but only a couple of days later I got sick. I tried it again after that, but I would get sick every time in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Could this be a coincidence? Is anyone else having the same problem? And what can I do to resolve it? Can your body adapt to riding with a fan blowing at it?
Right, interesting question. I personally have never had an issue using a fan, but what could be going wrong is that your fan could be kicking up some sort of dust or something from your house, and that could be getting into your system, and then you could be having a reaction.
Yep, or it could be that you're now pushing yourself that much harder because your body's a little bit cooler, your immune system's a little bit weaker because you've pushed harder and you're picking something up that way.
Or you have just got an illness and you haven't really fully recovered from that illness. So every time you push hard, it's just putting yourself that bit over the edge.
Yep, so try and experiment with
maybe going outside. So setting up your turbo outside or setting up in a garage, and hopefully some of those things won't happen.
Yeah, basically it shouldn't be making you ill, should it?
Nope. Right, we've got a question in from Dreamer. Oh, I like your name there. I do roughly 40 miles a day, 4 days a week, but really struggle with losing my weight. I also love sprinting, seems to turn my fat into muscle. What Zwift training session would you recommend to help me go down, I'm guessing, in weight?
Oh, good question, Dreamer. There are loads of workouts on Zwift which, if you type in fat burning or something like that, will help you. But as it comes to losing weight, you actually just need to be in a negative calorie deficit. So you need to make sure you're eating less than you're burning. Basically.
Yeah, 100%. So make sure you're eating clean. You're not eating too many carbohydrates, because obviously if you're eating all those big carbohydrates, that's going to put on weight. But yeah, it's basically a balance really. So making sure you're putting out enough fitness and enough exercise to burn those calories. And
it may be worth trying to do a 5th day each in the week as well, because actually if you're only doing 4 days, that's only just over half the week. So you may be missing out, space 2 rest days throughout the week. So you could have like a Tuesday and a Friday as a rest, for example.
Yeah, and lastly, I would say maybe do an hour before breakfast and a pre-breakfast ride. It's something I used to do a lot, and I did feel it helped me, but then it's all personal preference really. So yeah, try those and see how you get on. And other than that, I would check this video out on losing weight through road cycling, and maybe get out on the ride, do some endurance rides and see how you feel.
Good luck.
So here's a neat little trick for you. When you get in from your ride, drink a really big glass of water, maybe a pint or so, before you have your meal. Let it settle in your stomach, and that way when you do come to having your meal, you won't feel quite so hungry, and therefore you'll be a little less likely to overeat. And you can also use this trick before your main meals of the day, breakfast, lunch and dinner, and even before your mid-morning and mid-afternoon snack. Happy days. Cheers.
Next up then, Phil Barker. Hey chaps, why do cyclists bother to shave their legs and not their arms? Surely the same dubious arguments apply to hairy arms.
Interesting question, but a lot of cyclists do shave their arms. Oscar Poyol, for example,
It's just weird.
He does shave his arms, but yeah, I guess we don't. When you get a massage every night, as a pro especially, if you had hairy legs, I think it'd be quite painful.
Yeah, it'd be pulling on the hairs, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so we as cyclists tend not to shave our arms, and having shaved legs and shaved arms, I don't think it makes a massive aerodynamic.
No, it's so negligible. It's like worth like a watt or 2 watts or something at certain speeds, isn't it?
Yeah, but if you'd like to know what the pros do, then check out this video. Actually, that's Sam Williams.
He's a model now, that guy.
He is a model, yeah. Lastly, talking to our ex-teammate.
Why do cyclists shave their legs? Yeah, when I first started cycling, I didn't really know either. I was, a rugby player, and I didn't really want to shave my legs. But it's a lot to when you crash. Hairs can trap bacteria and stuff, and it can lead to complications with infections and stuff like that. So it just keeps everything clean.
Right, we've got a question in from Robert David. Is that good pronunciation?
Robert David, yeah.
Hello GCN. Just like any other Belgium, de Ronde van Vlaanderen, is it good?
It's close.
Is one of the highlights of the year. This year I've signed up to ride the amateurs race, 229 kilometers. Now I don't really mind the cobbles and the steep.
Hellingham.
What scares me the most is the distance. My longest ride ever is 160 kilometers, mostly flat. Any tricks to train for the distance? I can train on Zwift and outside. Thanks guys, love the show and the channel. Well, thanks for your question.
Well, Robert, I would say that if you were comfortable with the 160 kilometers, that you shouldn't actually have any issue doing that extra 70 kilometers afterwards.
Nope.
What I would do though is build up back up to that 160 kilometers somewhere within 2 to 3 weeks before the event, just to remind your body what it's all about and activate those energy systems that you'll be using for such a long endurance ride, and then make sure you fuel sufficiently. It's going to take you roughly 2 hours longer than a 160 kilometer ride, I would think. And it is a pretty testing course, especially at the back end.
And I would say though, is remember on race day, you get a whole nother massive load of energy.
Yeah.
Because the adrenaline's going, it's a vent, so you kind of, your first 50 kilometers doesn't feel like you've even ridden that far.
And you'll be in a big group. It'll be a big ride, so you'll have a load of giraffe support as well.
And it'll be motivating and exciting, and I think you'll be fine. So yeah, but do some 160 kilometer rides, and 100% you'll be flying
It's
through.
going to be an amazing atmosphere, I'm sure.
Yeah, so good luck with that, and let us know how you get on.
Chad Paulin up next. I became the father of 2 beautiful children, 13 months apart.
No.
Congratulations.
Hard work, that.
Yeah. This has made my cycling suffer significantly. We're now in a routine and I'm on the bike roughly 5 hours a week. I have been pushing myself with high intensity interval training rides, but cannot get back to where I want to be. I've leveled off in my power output and cannot break it. Would it be more beneficial doing longer rides just below my threshold, or start cross training to build new muscles? Thanks.
Good question, and I think with that 5 hours a week you can actually make some serious gains with that amount of training.
Yeah, you can. And also, if you get to a point where you're feeling like you're not progressing, then maybe you want to address the intensity of all your rides. You cannot do every single ride each week, flat out. I've noticed, I have 2 kids and I don't ride my bike much more than 5 hours a week at the moment. I've noticed that every time I ride, I try and really push it, but that doesn't work. So 1 or 2 rides each week, I have to set myself an intensity ceiling. So like 75% of your max heart rate, and then ride at that for up to an hour and a half or maybe 2 hours if you're lucky to have the extra time.
But be patient with it. Fitness doesn't just come. I think you have to just, work your way in and just put the time in and try and string those rides together, and you will see an improvement, but just be patient.
Yep, good luck. Tommy Van Santa up next. I really like cycling and cycle a lot, but I'm still in high school and have lots of homework. How do I keep fit?
Right, good question, Tommy, but I would say enjoy cycling. Please don't stress about staying fit, staying at the top of the level. Just go out, enjoy it. Homework really does come first, because it does make a difference, making sure you're doing your homework.
Yeah,
and school is important.
Make sure you do loads of other sports as well, because they will really help you at your age to develop your body in a well-balanced all-round fashion, and also it'll keep you fit for your cycling.
Yeah. Next question is David Shelley. I recently bought a 56 centimeter Alpe Sprint. I had a 56 centimeter Rally, but for some reason my foot rubs on my front wheel, whereas it never did on my old bike. Does this mean my Alpe just is too small?
No, long answer short is it just depends on the geometry of the bike. It doesn't mean it's too small. So maybe your new bike has steeper, sharper racing angles, which will make it more agile when you're going quickly, but it will mean that you've got a little bit of toe overlap.
Yeah, or it's just your cleat setup.
Yeah, maybe
you've just got your cleat on like the middle of the foot, and on your last bike you had it by your toe. So it could be either or.
Next up, No Blazura. Can one single training ride become so hard that it is no longer beneficial? If so, how do I know my limit and before I should call it quits? Basically.
Yes, but it's going to have to be incredibly hard, and it's going to make you feel exhausted after it.
Something like you did the other day, the 10,000 calorie challenge.
Yeah, that's probably not the best way to go about training.
No, you literally did a month's training in a day.
Yeah, and I probably didn't get much out of it. It just probably made me go really slow for a really long time.
Yeah, if it's taking you more than 4 to 5 days to recover from, that's probably the tipping point of where you're no longer getting the benefit. And if you're past 7 days and you're still feeling the after effects of it, you've definitely done yourself more harm than good.
Yeah. So try that. So just think about the training beforehand. Next up is DSteed77. As a 110 kilogram rider, I can compete at a high level. I can lose 10 kilograms, but my body type, tall, broad and big bone, is not suited to be lightweight as others riders are. Should I train differently than normal riders?
Well, DSteed, cycling is not just about power to weight, is it at all? Luckily, if you're riding in a race, then tactics and drafting and all of these other things come into play as well. If it was simply an uphill 30-minute time trial or a 1 hour time trial, then power to weight is the defining factor and there's not a lot you can do about that. You should aim to structure your training based on the type of rider you are and what weaknesses you feel you have, not your weight.
100%, and that's a really good answer. So we're gonna move straight on from that.
Next up, disgruntled tunes. I may be mistaken about this, but there's one aspect of cycling that I see little of on this channel: charity riding. Some of us race, but a lot of us are more focused on riding for charity. If you could cover at least the majority of charity rides, ones with multiple thousands of riders, those rides would get some much needed exposure.
Yeah, 100%, and we here at GCN are massively fond of pushing charities, especially ones that are cycling related. And actually, Emma did do one for the Buffalo bikes, so go and check out that video where she did some pretty incredible work for them.
£95 or $147 is one bike. £35 or $50 is a tool set. And £450 pays for a training course for a local mechanic to learn to build and maintain Buffalo bikes. In effect, they train one mechanic for every 100 bicycles delivered through their Bicycle for Educational Empowerment programme.
Next up is Kevin O'Brien. Hi there, looking to get out cycling, but it's quite wintry here in Ireland. What would you say is too windy and not worth going out? This weekend, winds are forecasted for around 40 to 50 kilometers per hour. What do you think?
That's a really good question, and I think it depends on how confident you are quite a lot as a bike rider, because if it was 40 or 50 kilometers an hour, some parts of the ride might be quite sheltered and you'd be okay. You might not even notice.
I mean, it'd be
the wind.
fantastic if you had that for a tailwind.
Yeah.
I mean, Strava KOMs would come toppling down, but
I always get a load of emails when it's windy like that.
Yeah, but I would definitely take Chris's advice, and if you go outside and it's blowing a hoolie, then do you like that?
I like that.
Then it's probably worth not taking a bike, and it might be worth just staying inside, because ultimately safety is key, and we don't want you to hurt yourself.
Stein Ritzen. I recently started Zwifting and I'm absolutely hooked. Also, I did my first online race recently, but now my question, when you do such heavy exercise like a race where the cooldown is not included, what do you have to keep in mind with the cooldown not to have any injuries afterwards? And with stretching, will stimulate muscle growth and recovery? Kind regards, Stein.
Right. Warm down is so important,
Yeah.
especially after a race, because you do go so hard, and the end of the race is normally a max effort and a max sprint. The last thing you want to do is jump straight off the bike and go and do something else, or sit at the table and have food or whatever, because then you'll stiffen up and you will really feel sore the next day. So putting in around 10 minutes after the ride of easy pedaling, and that way you'll bring your heart rate down to around 55% as well of your max.
And then a little bit of light stretching will also help with the recovery, but the main reason for doing any stretching is injury prevention.
Yeah, 100%.
And for feeling, you know, it does help you feel better.
Right, on that note, it's the end of this week's Ask GCN Anything. And you know what to do to be involved on next week's show. What do you do, Chris?
That's right, use the hashtag talkback for all your cycling related questions, but to be in with a chance of winning a free 3-month subscription to Zwift, use the hashtag Ask GCN Training.
And before we go, do go and check out the shop, which is located up in that corner. Yeah, left-hand corner.
Left, right.
And you can go and buy some of these amazing GCN goodies. So go check that out.